Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all good. Today I've got a very special guest. I'm really excited for this one. I'm joined by Matisse, who a lot of you might know him from the Big Six or from his own channel. But Matisse, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much. I'm very well. I'm very well. As we were saying, just backstage, enjoying the break, enjoying some time to just gather
Yeah.
ourselves after that start to the season. And yeah, very much looking forward to this. How are you? You good?
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm really glad to have you on here and to chat with you. Obviously, a lot of people did send in some questions, so we'll jump on that as well. But I thought today people could sort of get to know you a bit better. Like I said before, people might know you from the Big Six or from your channel, and I thought we could start off with sort of your channel. I just wanted to sort of get to know sort of how you started your channel. I know you started like a few years ago. I think you started around the same time as me actually. But
Okay.
what sort of like inspired you to sort of make your own channel?
Okay. Well, first of all, this isn't this is not even my first channel. A lot of people don't know this, but it's not my first channel. This is my third channel. So my first channel was back when I was 16, and that was with a friend, and it was more of like a collaboration of where we would, because we were just starting YouTube, so we were back then, guess the big YouTubers still are, but KSIs, and they're
Yeah,
making challenge videos and food challenges and just basic stuff like that is what we were basically doing. And that channel probably got to like 500 subs, and then I moved to Ireland, and then that kind of stopped a little bit. And a few years later, I made another channel with him, and that was a podcast channel. And again, it was not football related, not sport related, but then it was
mm,
all audio. There's not even any visuals. And then we did that. That channel got to like, I went and checked it the other day. It was on like 73 subscribers. So I was like, okay. And then we stopped that. I was like, I need to go back to the drawing board here because this is not working, is it? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um, and then when I was about 20, well, it was in 2020. So 2019, I must have been what? Yeah, 22. Then I started to build on Twitter a bit of a following because I was making videos, but that was obviously football related, Chelsea related.
yeah,
And then once that built up, the videos started doing really well. People started liking the videos. They were obviously then asking, let's go to YouTube because you can do longer form. And I kind of dragged it out, milked it as much as possible because I wasn't ready to do YouTube
yeah,
again. And obviously now I've done YouTube twice, so I'm not going to do it a third time unless I know it's absolutely going to work this time. Because I'd like to do it for a full-time job. And then yeah, got everything kind of in place. Moved in with my mate who I'd done the last two channels with, because he was more the technical side. He knew the editing and the cameras and everything.
yeah,
I was more the talker. And then yeah, from that moment on, as soon as I moved in, and I said, right, this is the day I'm going to start it, which was like mid-October, 20. I don't know if it was 2020. Yeah, I think so. Just before COVID, I went full time straight away, and I was like, right, I've saved up a bit of money from COVID.
yeah.
Um, I'm gonna go straight in, and that's it, and then we'll see what happens. And then yeah, ever since then, thankfully, never looked back. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's
it's been a mad journey. Mm.
yeah, I love that. I think like Twitter as well. I know it's not always a great place, but I think if you know you've got a good sort of following there, a lot of people can usually go over to YouTube. You know you've got that support that will check it out, which I think's quite good. And everyone's story is sort of so different, so I love that. But obviously now you're doing really well on YouTube. You're nearly at 100K. I actually got asked this question, and I was curious myself, but I suppose what your life was like before YouTube compared to sort of now doing it full time.
Mm. Before I was working in Virgin Active, so I was working as a sales consultant in a gym, pretty standard, regular work, just 9 to 5, and kind of not knowing that I didn't want to really do that long term. So then kind
Yeah,
of having that battle of, you got to work, you got to have a job, because I've now moved back to London from Ireland. I failed my uni, so I did accounting and finance. Didn't enjoy it at all. I only liked it in school. I went to uni, and obviously things got a lot more difficult, a lot more difficult to do the work. And I was like, yeah, this is not fun. So dropped out of that after like 3 years. And I was just in Greece on holiday, on a lad's holiday. And I just rang my mum and I said, before you get this confirmation of my failings in these exams, I'm just going to let you know now that I've failed. So don't expect anything good in the
Yeah.
post, because I'm on holiday and I know this letter's coming to the door, to her door, and I'm not there. So just before you open
Yeah.
and see what's going on, just understand this is not going to be good news. So obviously when I said that, and then she's like, obviously, what's your plan now? So I'm just going to move back to London, get a job, and just figure it out from there. And she was supportive of that. She was cool with that, and it was moving in with my grandparents, and then that doing its thing. They're obviously a lot older. I'm trying to build something. I need to be able to make some level of noise. I'm like, yeah, they're going to bed at 8 p.m. I said, yeah, this is not going to work. I go with my aunties and uncles for like a week, and I'm like, yeah, nah, I need to now go live on my own. I went from Sainsbury's. I used to work in Tesco, so I've done a few different things, and then ended up in Virgin Active. And then as soon as COVID hit, I took that as my opportunity to just I don't have to work, because no one can work. Everybody has to stay inside. But whilst everybody's inside, you're still getting paid. So I said, if I don't take this moment, I don't know how long it's going to last, but if I don't take this time to build something online, then I'm wasting my time. So that's what happened. But yeah, my life before YouTube was very very normal, I guess. Very normal.
Yeah.
Very regular. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's very weird because, like, when you do a job compared to YouTube, it's sort of like a different type of work. I think when you watch it, it kind of looks easy, but when you're actually
Mm.
doing it, there's so much stuff that goes into it, like the editing and all the time after. And you're sort of like, I mean, for football as well, with transfers, your mind doesn't switch off. You're always
No.
thinking about what's next. I mean,
Mm.
it's hard because, Chelsea might lose and you've done a video, but you're still thinking about it. Your mind doesn't kind of switch off. So I think it's really good to do these type of videos, because I think when your team's lost or when they've won it, it's nice to share how you feel with people, and it's obviously nice that people feel like they would like to watch your content. And I
Mm.
think it's amazing now to see how far YouTube's come. But I think with football fans on YouTube, isn't there so many now? I mean, I know for Arsenal, there's so many YouTubers, and I think it's amazing. I mean, it's like the Sky Sports, the Talk Sport. I mean, I personally would rather listen to someone on YouTube like
Mm.
yourself or whoever, because I think your passion is real and you can see that it's not fake. And I think it's
Mm.
nice to see so many genuine fans like talk about how they feel about the club, which I think is so amazing. I mean, for yourself, you've obviously done really well to get where you are now, but what would you say your best memories are? I mean, have you ever spoken to someone that you've really thought, wow, this is an amazing moment?
Yeah, I've had a couple of these moments where you definitely have to soak it in. You have to really take it in. I think there was one moment where and this was a funny moment, to be honest, but I had a stream set up for I think it was for a guest, or I had some sort of stream set up. It was 11. It was meant to be 11 in the morning,
Hmm.
and I accidentally, with that 12-hour clock, I think it might be on StreamYard, I set up for 11 o'clock at night the day before. So I quickly, I'm relaxed. 11:30, I'm about to go to sleep. I'm like,
Yeah.
let me just check the YouTube, see how many people have liked it, waiting, because tomorrow morning we're gonna do the stream. I've seen there's like 250 people waiting. I said, this is strange, because there's a whole 12 hours until this stream starts. What are you lot waiting for? I click in. It's not meant to be live, apparently. I'm like, wow,
Oh
this is
god.
this is not good. So I changed it to 11 in the morning. As you change that now, the comments are just like, oh my god, this is ridiculous. I thought this is meant to be on now. Where are you? Da-da-da, you're late. I said, no, unfortunately, you guys are early. My bad. So I said to them, I said, right, if this interview, and the interview is with I think the interview may have been with Gab Marcotti, this one.
Mm,
And I was so excited for it, because obviously it's Gab Marcotti,
mm,
ESPN. I used to watch him and Julian Laurens. I've had Julian Laurens on as well. Both of them both times I've had them on, definitely a moment that you just think, wow, this is crazy. And I said, right, if you give me 1K likes on the next one, I'm gonna cut my hair. I'm gonna go bald. Now I should have asked for more likes because they smashed it. They gave me the 1K likes. I go on to the big six. I get my hair cut. I'm bald now, and so whatever stream it was, I had Gab Marcotti must have been booked in the day after. So I've done the stream. I've got the 1K likes. I've gone bald, and now I'm interviewing Gab Marcotti bald, and it was a great interview. But you could tell that he was just like, "Are you always bald like
You
this?"
wanted to say something.
It doesn't
Yeah.
seem right. Like you turned up, it doesn't seem like this is your usual hairstyle. You seem a bit uncomfortable. So that
Oh,
was good fun. But to interview him was great. Julian Laurens, and I'd say Peter Jury as well. Um, because these were like obviously when you go on Sky, when you go on Talksport, these are great moments as well. But because these were on my channel and I was able to bring these guys to my channel, it feels extra special. And Peter Jury, just listening to him talk about anything is ridiculous. Like the guy's voice is just, it's just, you just get lost. You're just listening. You don't even know
yeah.
what some, even if he could be talking about making tea. Do you know what I mean? And how he makes his tea, and you'll listen like as if he's
It'd
talking
make it
about.
sound interesting, yeah.
He'll make it sound like as if someone's just scored a 90th minute winner. He's just unbelievable. His voice is just it's a gift. So to have him on was unbelievable as well. I'm probably forgetting maybe a few others as well, but those three in particular really stand out because I love listening to Julian. I love listening to Gab. Um, and yeah, Peter Jury is just that's just ridiculous, that one.
Yeah, it's really weird because like when you interview someone that you really look up to or like watching, you've in the interview you've got to sort of stay calm and composed, and
Mm,
inside you're thinking, "Oh my God, I'm interviewing
yeah.
them," and you learn to do that to be honest when you sort of do these sort of chats. But I think that's
Mm,
obviously amazing, and I always say, people when you ask them to do stuff on your channel, not everyone will say yeah, but I think
mm.
when people sort of like to come on your channel, it's obviously I think it's a privilege. I really do. I think it's really nice when people say yes. So I think along the way, you will sort of get people that say no, and everyone's busy, but you appreciate those that will have the time for you. Especially you coming on today as well, because I know you're busy, and I always appreciate those that do come on my channel as well. And I wanted to actually, obviously, you're a Chelsea fan on your channel. You do a lot of Chelsea content, and I just want to know sort of your story, how you became a Chelsea fan, sort of like your favourite players growing up.
So it's funny because they tried to ask me on DR, and I absolutely destroyed them. So because Alex was trying to be cheeky, but what happened was with this is in '07, I went to my first Chelsea game, which was I remember it clear as day because we didn't win. Chelsea won, Aston Villa won. And at the time, I'd always played football at Sunday league level,
Mm,
but I'd never really gone to many football games. So I went to a few championship games. I went to Charlton. I went to Millwall, I think, as well. Went to one other team. I went to a few championship teams, but yeah, it was just going. I was waiting for my first Premier League game because when I'm playing FIFA or I'm playing football in Sunday League, it's the Premier League that everybody's talking about, right? Loads of people supporting Arsenal. Oh, you should, because I haven't picked a team at this point. My
yeah.
dad supported Liverpool, but never took to it because I said, "Where's Liverpool?" He said, "Well, it's up north." I said, "Well, what's the
Mm,
point? That's nowhere near me, is it? I'm not going to go to a Liverpool game. How am I going to get there?" So I watched a few Liverpool when he was watching it, but I was like maybe 5, 6, 7 years old, or even maybe even younger, maybe 3, 4. I was never going to support Liverpool. So it's only now when I get to go to my first Chelsea game that obviously, blue is the color, the liquidator, the flags, and I'm like, I like this. This is great.
mm,
Now I must have been 11 years old, so I was maybe a bit late going in. But when I come in 2007, I had no idea who the owner
mm.
was, no idea that we had won a couple Premier League titles. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
I was playing football. I was doing my thing in primary, going into secondary school. I didn't know what was going on. So it's only when I look back now, I'm like, oh, this team's actually pretty good. I knew they
Mm,
were good. I knew on
yeah.
FIFA they had a 5-star rating. They had some nice, highly rated players, but I was like, that's about it. Lampard was one of the players that I was actually going for in the first
Mm,
place. So I was like, I love Lampard. That guy's screaming in long shots on the game for me. And yeah, when you used to play in cage, or you used to play cage football, people were like, they want to be Rooney, or they want to be
Yeah.
Lampard, or they want to be Gerrard, or they want to be Ronaldinho. Like everybody would pick the player they want to be, and I used to always pick Lampard. I just thought he was a great player. You know, I enjoyed watching. But yeah, when I went in, and just a couple little things. The blue stood out, obviously, because my favorite color was always blue. The liquidator, and then yeah, I was watching us, and I thought, yeah, I like this. I'm sticking with this. This is my team. So a lot of people were always like, oh, you came in with the money, but I said, bro, I didn't know the money was there.
Yeah, you weren't aware, yeah.
But it's a happy coincidence. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad it's there because it helped. We definitely were a lot better for it, but it wasn't there for the Wayne Bridge goal at
Yeah.
Highbury. Wasn't there for the first Premier League win and Bolton, Reebok, and the Lampard moments. Just had to go back and look at all that. So it was only in 2007. I think 2007 was the first year we didn't win it. After winning it twice, didn't win it again. I was like, what have I signed up for? Man United are whooping our ass 3 years in a row.
Mm.
Alex Ferguson, loving life, winning prem after prem after prem, and obviously in 2010 we get it back, and I'm like, right, let's go. So yeah, no, it was good, but yeah, it was very I guess in the end, I mean, right now I'm suffering, so yeah, balance. There's always balance with these things.
Yeah, I think you're sort of going through what Arsenal went through like a few seasons
Mm,
back. Honest, I mean, I don't think you'll ever get to a point Arsenal got to. I mean, you might, I don't know, but I know what it's like. It's so draining when you're just losing always and you're not really going in the right direction. But I love your story. I'm quite like you. Like, um, I live actually up north. My family are Liverpool fans, and you know what? It's sort of quite interesting because I wanted to pick a team, but I couldn't decide which team. Obviously, down here, United, we hate United, so I sort of knew that I couldn't support them, and Liverpool never did it for me. I don't know what it was about them, but they just weren't for me. But I started supporting Arsenal around 2015, and that's when you guys were really good, and I hated it. But yeah, Wenger for me. Even though we weren't in our best years, he was always like up there for me as and probably one of our best managers. But I think it's nice to support a team that's a bit different from everyone else. And yeah, I love your story. I think you hear a lot of the time people, parents support the team, and it's nice to hear different stories. But yeah, I absolutely love that, and I'm sure Chelsea will get back to that there again. Because growing up for me, you guys, I hated how good you were. It would pain me all the time. Like Fabregas, I loved him so much.
mm,
I do believe with him, he loved Chelsea and he loved Arsenal. I do think he loved both clubs, but I
yeah,
think growing up watching him, it was so painful. It's like a dagger to
I
the
can
heart.
imagine.
But yeah, but it's sort of nice to see as well Arsenal back to where we should be. I just hope we can win the league this season. But yeah, I love your story. I always love hearing people's stories. It's absolutely amazing. And I wanted to actually speak on the Big Six now because I think a lot of people know you from there as well. And
Mm.
I just wanted to sort of get to know a bit about how it all came about, you going on there and what it's like to sort of because when you watch it, you can always see you've got the great banter with everyone. You all get on so well. So I just thought you could tell people a bit about that and how you all get along and how it all started for you going on there.
So I think around about this time, I was still making my videos on Twitter. Think
Mhm.
I may have just launched this YouTube channel at this point. Um, so it's still in its early days. Must have been getting a couple thousand views.
Yeah,
I mean, the one thing I do love about my YouTube channel is it really started from the ground up. Like I can remember getting the first 100 subscribers and thinking,
yeah,
go on,
it's
guys.
massive. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think from sharing it, I cleared 100, but then to get to 1,000, I had to definitely do a good maybe 10, 12 videos, which compared to the other two channels was fantastic. Do you know what I mean? But I
yeah,
still remember getting a couple thousand is where it started, and I think it was like 1 and 2 and 3. So that's a great benchmark to kind of have for sure. But I remember it well, and yeah, I think whilst I was in those early stages, Big Six, that's when Turkish reached out to me. I didn't know Tobes. I didn't know Well,
Yeah.
actually, did I know Tobes? I'd heard about Tobes because I think he'd done work with Cheeky Sport, and I had done work with Cheeky Sport in a different capacity. I was doing more social media management, admin for them. Big Steve, I didn't know him. I didn't know Saeed. I didn't know Grizz. I didn't know
Yeah.
any of them. The only one I really knew was Turkish because when I was watching AFTV, he was always on there.
Yeah.
He was one of the original guys, along with like lead judges and
Yeah.
troops, etc. So I was always watching that. So I knew Turkish. So when Turkish reached out, I said, "Yeah, I mean, let's do it." Do you know what I mean? And I don't think we knew coming in how big it was going to be at all. It was kind of just
Yeah.
like a show that, all right, cool. It's on StreamYard. It's every week. I'd actually joined, I think, Rants on his channel with
Mhm.
DG at the time, and that was another show. So I just kind of saw it all as, okay, they're all shows. It's great to be able to go on these big channels because they're kind of known in the community. They've been in this space for a long time, and I'll be able to kind of showcase what I'm about.
Mm.
And yeah, I've got my Twitter following, but I also now need to be on YouTube. And there's people on YouTube that have no idea who I am, so I need to go
Yeah.
up gears. And the show just went from strength to strength. I remember, I think initially we were starting the views and it was maybe like 10, 15K, and then it kind of quickly got
Mm.
to 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. And then it just grew and grew and grew. And yeah, the chemistry just got better and better. It was an incredible first season because the first season of Big Six, we won the Champions League. And by the time we
Yeah, I
got to
remember
that,
that.
Big Steve, I'm going up against Big Steve in the Champions League final. He's giving it, I'm giving it. We've played each other, I think, in a semi-final as well of an FA Cup. It's just all kicking off. And I'm pretty sure that show where we won it may have been our first 100K show. And from that moment, it was just like, that's it now. This show is gonna go up gears, and then the following year we just keep pushing, we keep going. So yeah, it's been insane to see the rise because it's gone from 6 people on a panel. Camera quality is not great. You know what I mean? Audio quality is not great on StreamYard. To we're going to New York. We've been on Fox News, which is still insane.
Yeah.
Now gone to LA as well last summer. And we're planning to go to the World Cup. So in 2026. So it's just gone from strength to strength, and it's just got better and better. And the great thing about it is that there's still so much more. Like this season, we've only just started bringing in watch-alongs. We've got the
Yeah.
North London Derby next weekend, which is going to be insane because all 6 of us are going to be there for the first time. Cobes are Turkish, going at it. Me, Saeed, trolling Big Steve, Grizz. It's just going to be insane. So to go from where we started to where we are now,
Mm.
where the show's doing great numbers, the watch-alongs are coming in, the pre-recorded content's there as well. It's it's crazy. Sometimes when people stop you and they're like, love the show, you just kind of, after they've gone, you just have a moment. You're like, we've really built something here. It's kind of mad because I think you probably
Yeah.
get it when you're on YouTube and you see the numbers. Obviously, you understand what those numbers are, but because it's not people right in front of you, it's hard to actually
Yeah, you
really.
don't really. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You don't really understand just how many people that is. If like now, because on Twitter, I was getting 100 at the peak of it, I was getting like 150, 200K views a video. And for me, one thing I've always tried to remain is I don't try to get I don't try to get too excited about it because
Mm.
as much as something might be doing really well, there's so much more to do, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Like there's
you've
so
got
much
to think about what's next. Yeah.
yeah, there's so many YouTube, and this is it's a good thing, and then it's also like you don't live in the moment maybe enough. But there's YouTubers that are doing millions of views. Do you know what I mean? Tens of millions of views. So how do you get to that? Do you know what I mean? That's the
Yeah.
level that I would love to be able to get to make that level of content. So there's never a point where I'm like, right, I'm done now because there's still more to do. But yeah, I think when something gets 100,000 views, like a Big Six show, or a video gets that many views, like it's difficult to actually imagine just how many people that is. But if you break it down
Yeah.
into football stadiums and you say, right, new camp sold out, that's how many people watched. It's like, oh my god, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you
So
don't realize because say 30 people watch a video. Imagine 30 people in a room with you. It is a lot. And
mm,
then if you look at
mm,
on the other side as well, if there's like 100,000, like it's a lot of people. I
yeah,
think yeah, it's a lot. I think as well, like you mentioned before, when you first hit 1K, that feels amazing. And do you think
Oh
about it,
yeah.
1,000 people is a lot of people. And I
Mm,
think, like you said, when you it's really weird because I'm like that. I'll enjoy if I've got like 3K or whatever I get, I'll enjoy that and be happy. But then you think about, what do I need to do next? What can I
yeah.
improve on? It's so hard to enjoy it. But I think you've also got to enjoy moments, but then think about, what can I do next. But for you, obviously, you're nearly at 100K, and obviously you're doing really amazing things. But what would you say is next for you? Are you just sort of going to keep doing the content on your channel, or do you have any things coming up?
I think for me, my YouTube will always be my priority. It's
Yeah,
because I've always wanted to do YouTube since the first channel. I don't see there's nothing better for me than YouTube. YouTube is the
yeah,
pinnacle. Um, the only thing that can improve is the quality of the content. You know, I can go from um, using this level camera to that level camera,
yeah,
this level edit to this level edit, improve the way I deliver, improve the way that I shoot things, improve the ideas, bigger, better collaboration. Just there is no end to it because there's always something that the bigger, massive YouTubers are doing that you've got to get to, that you've got to aspire to be. So for me, YouTube is I'm never gonna not do YouTube. I'll be doing YouTube until it's said and done. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
I've
Until
I've
you can't
seen
anymore.
yeah,
Yeah,
bro, even older than that, Sophie, to be honest, because I've seen channels like Grandpa, who's now passed away, but I used to watch him, and he was like 60s, 70s. His son would just film him, and he was great banter, and he was a YouTuber. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know when I'll stop, but I'll be doing it until at least retirement age, when it's like, okay, cool, you should
yeah,
probably just chill now. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not going anywhere. But in regards to the extra stuff, I always see it as like bonuses. If I'm
yeah,
able to go on TV, I'm able to go on radio, I'm able to do these things. I do love doing them because I think it keeps you on your toes. You learn new things. The more times you do something, the less nervous you get doing it the next time.
yeah,
So now I feel quite comfortable if someone says, right, we're going in live in 3, 2, and then they do the silent 1, 0, say nothing. I used to be, I used to have to settle
yeah,
down. Now I'm like, I'm cool, I'm chilled, I'm ready. I know what I need to do basically, and I just treat it as what I do every day. Because if I do that, then I'll be fine. That's what they brought
yeah.
me in for in the first place. But there's just for me in terms of what's coming up, it's just what I'm a part of full time on an everyday basis, which is obviously committed to Big Six and growing that, building that, making it bigger, making it better. I'm on DR, which is great as well in that panel, and do some things for Bleach Report. And just for me, YouTube is for like my channel is like my home. That's my home. That's where I
Yeah, you've
that's
built
what
it
I,
up. Yeah,
yeah, that's where I'm at. I've built it. I've got loads of plans for it. I'm always thinking of skits and ideas, and it's sometimes my ideas they're I know how great they would be for the viewers, but it's not always possible to make it happen because my ideas will need maybe 2 cameramen, or you know what I mean, or will
yeah.
need
It's hard. Yeah,
it's not, I can't do that. So it's like sometimes I have to calm it down and say, right, let me do the basics. I will do a sit down video and talk to the camera and do that. But I've also got things that I want to do that are hopefully going to be entertaining as well. But that's like my home. And then the away games, I call them, which is the away games, which is going on TV or going. Yeah, I'll always do that as well. And whatever opportunities come, I'll take them. I think one thing I'd love to do is do like a foot asylum locked in at some
yeah.
point. Do these things because why not? Like it's very for me. I like trying stuff. I don't shy away from new things at all, and I'm ready to take risks.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm actually better when I'm taking risks. I don't like to get comfortable. My viewers
Mm.
will see I very rarely um, do the same thing continuously. Just like I had some weekly shows. I had London Clubs Carnage, I had Battle in the North, and I was starting to, think I'm getting a bit too comfortable here because these things are in stone. I know what views they're going to get, but I also know I can't elevate it to the level I want to, which
Mm.
is I want to make it better now. So how can I make it better? Okay, I'd love to have everybody in studio, get free cameras, get everything in great quality, and have everybody in person. But because I know I can't do that because some of the guests are maybe abroad or they live, I said, right, if I can't take this to the level that is here, then I'm also going to say, right, that's that. We've had our time now. It's a great show, but I don't allow anything to fall off or for anything to plateau.
Yeah,
Uh, I I've got a plan. I'm trying to push it. If I can't push it any higher, I'll take it and say, right, put it to the side, and then I'll think of something else. I'm not afraid to move something on that everybody's used to and maybe people like in search of something better. Because for me as a creator, it's my job to provide content that the viewer is not thinking about. The viewer
yeah,
thinks what I'm giving them right now is the best of the best. They think this show is the best of the best, but it's not. I know it's not. They don't, because they love it and they're used to it. And it's like getting EastEnders at 8 p.m. every week. But what if I
yeah,
told you I can give you something better? I'm gonna try my best. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, for me, yeah, you unfortunately on YouTube you only have so much time and you can't duplicate yourself. So you do have to pick
yeah,
and choose you, and you do have to keep pushing. But yeah, I like to keep my audience on their toes. The best thing about the channel is that if I drop a skit, um, they do love a skit and they know that I'll drop skits, but they're not expecting it because they never know when I'm gonna do it. And I just drop it, and then getting that reaction of people just being like, "Wow, I was not expecting this." It's the best thing. It's the best thing in the world.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think with YouTube as well, like you said, you've got to always think of new ideas, and like you said, surprising your audience as well is obviously good because they're not expecting it and they're very happy with it. But yeah, I do agree. Like I think when you go live, do you know what? I think I a while ago I got invited down to Arsenal to chat about the games, and it's really weird when you go 3, 2, 1, then you go live, and you think
Mm.
to myself, "Do not make any mistakes." Like you've,
Mm.
but the thing is, like I go live like a few times a week on YouTube, and it doesn't bother me, like, if I make plenty of mistakes and it's just normal. I think people would rather see you make mistakes because they know that you're just normal, like, a lot of people do this and make mistakes, but
Yeah.
I think you get used to it a lot and it's not you don't really get nervous about it anymore, and that's really interesting because before I started YouTube, if you said about going live, I would have freaked out, but now it's just a normal thing, and I think that's what's so good about YouTube. It does sort of like push you at your comfort zone and makes you do new things. And I think
Mhm.
it's absolutely amazing YouTube. I absolutely love it. And I wanted to ask you, I mean, I know obviously you do a lot of streams and
Mm.
um when you sort of don't do streams and you have time off, do you sort of how do you sort of switch off? Do you still watch
Mm.
football stuff or do you think that's my time, I'm going to relax, I'll focus on that later? Like how do you switch off at any point after you've ended the streams?
Um, yeah, I think if I well, it depends. If Chelsea have won, it's a lot easier
Mm,
for me to switch off because I
yeah.
know we've done our job. I know that we've played our we've played our game. We've played well, and I can bank it. I know I'm going to be talking about it the week after, on different shows. So I'm happy, and I can move on. I think if Chelsea have lost, that's when I am not able to switch off
Yeah.
at all, and I'm like replaying the incidents, replaying the problems. Now I'm on Twitter scrolling. Everybody else is talking about the problems, and it's just a cycle, and you just never move on until maybe like a few days afterwards. After because I know I'm talking about these things on different shows on the Monday, and I'm
Yeah.
probably going to speak about it on the Tuesday, and then on Wednesday it will be hopefully done and dusted. There's no, I almost see it like there's no point of me trying to move on because I know I'm gonna have to talk about it anyway. So I, I, I'm kind of just taking it with me into those days and taking the emotion with me into those days as well. Because yeah, it's because I know that we're very fragile right now.
Mm.
Each loss or each drop points is like it's not the end of the world, but it's like you never know when you're going to win again. We might go on a 5-game winless run. It sounds crazy to like for an Arsenal fan
Yeah.
right now, the way you guys are playing, that sounds ridiculous. Like, what do you mean a 5-game run without wins, or Man City fan? But for Chelsea, it would be a shock, but it's not something that we haven't seen already, in the last couple of years. If we go 5 games without a win, we've done it before. So um for sure it's yeah, you definitely value every single 3 points you get. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's the emotions are just heightened even more because none of these wins are guaranteed. Like, we could go to Bournemouth, we could not win, and that wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise anyone, really. It wouldn't. Yeah.
Do you know what? Obviously, we have done really good in the last few seasons, but I do get it when we were in a really bad place. Like, I mean, it's hard because when you're not doing good, things will be questioned, like the manager, the owners, and all of that. And it is hard as well because when you're doing content about it, you sort of feel like I don't want to go over it again and again, but I sort of need to. And it's so hard as well because you sort of don't know where you go from here as your club. And I never thought Arsenal would ever get out of that mess the way we were going. But it's tough as well when you're not doing good, and around the club the atmosphere isn't too good. But it's really weird with Arsenal because like if we lose now, it's almost like not expected in a way because we're doing so good. I mean, I honestly did think we would beat Brighton, but I also think the Premier League is getting more tough. Like every
Mm,
team is going to improve, so you sort of can never go into games thinking it's going to be an easy 3 points. But it's hard because on paper you might look at Chelsea versus say I'm going to go Tottenham. Like I would expect you to win. But
mm,
when you're in the game, you don't know what's going to happen. So it's like the Northern Derby. Arsenal have
yeah.
been better, but that does not mean we're going to win. Um,
Mm,
you can never predict these things, so it's really really tough. And
yes.
I wanted just to read some questions that people sent me, and it's quite interesting because obviously I'm going to touch on Havertz and Sterling because obviously I'll get your thoughts on Havertz first because when we signed him, I honestly thought like I was a bit confused because he had been known as a bit of a flop at Chelsea. Like that's sort of the name he got.
Mm,
But he did score in the Champions League final, and I felt like he had those sort of moments in him, but I didn't see it sort of happening. What have you made of how he's sort of turned things around? I mean, don't get me wrong, he's not he's not a Haaland, but he's very
mm,
good.
mm,
And he's improved so much in confidence as well.
mm,
But for you, I just wanted to get your thoughts first on Havertz and sort of how he's done at Arsenal compared to sort of how he first came and how it's gone.
mm. I think with Havertz, he's one of those players. Like if I was on Football Manager and I was grading someone out of 20, he'd get like
Yeah,
15 out of 20 for everything. Do you know what I mean? He's got a bit of everything, but I wouldn't say like he's elite at anything. So he can kind of
yeah,
contribute anything you need him to do. If you need him to have a good first touch, he's got a good first touch. You need him to head the ball, he can head the ball, but he's not gonna do anything to a level where it's like he's the best at it. So
yeah,
he's a strange player because when he first came to Chelsea, we were excited because Real Madrid wanted him as well, but they couldn't afford him at the time. They had to get him. They were trying to get him the year after. And when he was at Bayer Leverkusen, he was just gliding around the pitch, and you could tell that his technique and his technical ability was the reason why he was doing well. It wasn't like a player in the Bundesliga that's just relying on pace or relying upon high lines and then they could get found out. We never thought Havertz would get found out because Havertz technically was just cruising. Like he was gliding around the pitch. He was getting Ozil comparisons, which I never thought were really like for like because you could see there were differences, but he was
yeah,
getting those level of comparisons. And yeah, we was very excited when he came in. We defended him like crazy. Obviously, gave him his first season. Everybody gets their first season to settle in, second season, third season. And the thing is with Havertz for us is he just never.
mm,
It was when you're not winning titles or you're not winning the level of trophies that you think you can. Players that kind of glide or players that kind of you know they kind of move through the game in a very at their own pace. They can be frustrating because you're thinking, where's that gear to just go crazy? Where's that gear to just say, right, I'm gonna start putting my foot through the ball and smashing in shots and why has everything got to be a dink and then keeper saves? It was just all very nonchalant. But that's obviously his
yeah,
style. He's always like that. So those players, they could be the best players because they're great to watch and they're easy on the eye, or they could be the worst players because when you're not winning, you're thinking, come on, man, just be serious and start,
yeah,
putting a little bit more grit into your game. But yeah, for me, underwhelming in the end, purely because he was like someone that could have been right up there and he kind of just didn't do anything more than just, consistently maybe six and a halves, maybe some sevens, but he could have done nines and tens based
yeah,
upon the talent. So for him to go to Arsenal, obviously, I think when someone's going to Arsenal in a period where they could still be in their prime, that is obviously very frustrating because you don't want them to do well in their prime at Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? That's
yeah,
like us getting Ashley Cole or Fabregas, like you just mentioned earlier, like if he
Yeah.
comes to Chelsea and he puts an incredible season where we win the league. Whereas when Williams and Petr Cechs and
Mm.
players that are going, and David Luiz, and we know they're declining.
Mm.
We know
Yeah.
they're dropping off. We know we've had the best. We know they're not going to
Yeah.
get any better. Then fantastic, no problem. All those three players I just mentioned, I didn't have a problem with them going to Arsenal. Didn't even
Yeah.
think about it twice. But because Havertz is coming in at a time where he's still young and he could still improve and he could still potentially go and do something significant, it puts everybody on edge, and it's like, don't even think of, don't you dare. Do you know what I mean? Don't you dare. So yeah, he's an interesting player, because I think a lot of Arsenal fans wanted a striker just to
Yeah.
really say that we could push for that Premier League. I think if he was to be replaced by a striker and to be on the bench or to be a rotational player, which is fine because you need a deep squad. But I think for, again, what he was kind of spoken about to potentially be at Bayer Leverkusen, and for what we thought he would be, and then maybe for what some Arsenal fans thought he would be or think he could be, if he becomes a rotational player and he becomes like a cameo
Mm.
player, I don't think that's him once again maximizing if he was to be
Mm.
replaced by a striker. So he kind of has to prove that he can lead you to a Premier League title. He can be that
Yeah.
player that you start week in, week out up front, and he gets you 20 goals, because that's the level of talent he's meant to be. So if he does that, he shuts every Chelsea fan up. If he does that, he shuts every Chelsea fan up. But everybody knew when he's at Chelsea, he was good. It's whether he can be great. And
Yeah.
being good and being great, like
There's a difference.
greatness, when we
Yeah.
talk about Henry's or we talk about Bergkamp's or we talk about, good and great, two different things. And there's a
Mm.
big gap between the two. So he's good. Let's see if he can be great. And if he can be great, greatness shuts everybody up. But if it's just good, Arsenal fans themselves after this season, if he's only good, but he's not great, you'll
Mm.
start to think, do we need to improve on him now so we can go to that
Yeah.
next level? And I think that will be very interesting to see how he does.
I mean, when we signed him, I did really think at the time I'd want someone more, maybe like a Tony that you know what you're going to get from him. You know he's going
Mm,
to score a lot of goals, or Isaac. I mean, I still think we need a striker, but I think with Havertz, I didn't know what to expect from him. I think it took him a while to score and have that confidence, and I think this season, I think it's a big season for him as well. I mean, I don't think he could get 20 goals, but I think he could probably aim for 15 or 20, like between them, I
mm,
think. But it's very interesting because, like you said, I mean, off the ball, he works really hard as well. But I mean, the Brighton game's a good example because he scored a great goal, and you
mm,
think you're going to win the game, but then the second half comes, he had a really big chance, and that's sort of the difference, like you said, from being a good player to being a great player. You've got to really take those chances in those games if you want to win a league. So I do agree. I mean, he definitely doesn't work in midfield. I think he's better in that position up front. But
mm,
yeah, it's a very tough one because we have Jesus as well, and I think what we have right now is probably not enough. I'm not too sure if we could win a league with that, but we need a striker, and I've said it for such a long time. But I do think Havertz, there's no doubt he has improved Arsenal. But like you said, it's very hard. Haaland's almost too perfect, and
yeah.
it's hard to find someone. I mean, Mo Salah has been at his best for such a long time, but
Mm.
it's hard to find someone as good as him or
That's
like him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's greatness. I mean, we have a similar issue with Jackson where he's a good player. He scored as
Mm,
well on the weekend, last weekend. But then, like you said, he had a chance as well, and he could have won us the game, and he could have got a second goal. And that's the difference between being good and being
mm,
great. Like, we know you're
yeah.
good. We know you can get Jackson last season. I think he got like 15 goals, 15 non-pen. But can you get 20? Can you get 25? Can you be
'Cause
great?
that makes a
Because
difference, yeah.
that's the level you've got to get to at some point if you're going to win a title. When Liverpool won their title, their front three, or Salah and Mane in particular, are
Yeah,
churning out 20, 30 goals in all comps. Man City with Haaland. When we were doing it, Drogba had his best, when he had his best seasons, we would win the league with his, when he had that Ancelotti season in particular, or Diego Costa. You need someone to be great. So it's
yeah. Yeah, finding
it's a
that.
fine
Yeah,
balance for sure. I think even Jesus is still a very good player. I think he's a really good player, but I think he's just had injury problems, and again
yeah.
he's not a great. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, it's hard because we've had so many moments where I felt we've got close to an Henri type of player. I mean, Sanchez was always that one that I felt could have been an Henri, but
Mm.
he had to leave at the time because we were never going to win the league with that defence. And then
Yeah.
Aubameyang's another one where I did really think he would become a legend, and then it all sort of, I don't know, it all became a mess. And then
Mm.
now we've got players that, like I said, are good, but they're not really. I don't think can ever become like an great, outstanding player. But you can like Jesus. It's a tough one because his injuries, as you can't rely on him, but he is a good player to have around the team. And
Mm.
um, I wanted to touch on Sterling because it's really interesting. It all kind of happened really fast when we signed him, and honestly, Arsenal fans are quite mixed about it.
Mm.
My thoughts are sort of the same about Havertz. Like, I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I'm just sort of in the middle about it because Sterling is a good player, and you've seen as well for England, he's had great moments, but it's just his end product that I'm sort of worrying about because that's our problem at the moment. Like we've got great players like Martinelli, but his end product is sort of his problem that's letting him down a bit. And I sort of that's my only doubt about Sterling, his end product. Like we need someone that's really gonna take us that next level this season. We need someone that's really going to be more clinical because we've got a lot of players that are very good, but they're not able to always take their chances. And I just wanted to maybe get your thoughts on how you think Sterling will do at Arsenal. Do you think he might be a difference for Arsenal winning the league?
Mm. Sterling is, for me, first of all, in the position you were in,
Mm.
you needed to bring Sterling in. You really
Yeah, we had
did.
no choice really. Yeah,
Yeah, I think when you look at the lack of depth on the right with Saka, you needed someone to back him up. And Sterling, who's experienced, who's been there and done it, that's an adequate backup for sure. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Now, don't get me wrong, Sterling can be a very frustrating player. He's not clinical at all. He does miss chances. He can have weird decision making. He can be very frustrated. There will be times this season where you'll be like, "Why has he done that?" Like,
yeah. What are you doing? Yeah,
what are you actually doing? Like, you're 29. Why are you making these decisions? But at the same time, Sterling can go past 2, 3 players in a dribble. Sterling can win a penalty. Sterling
yeah,
can, he can get that goal that might just be the defining definitive goal.
mm.
So for me, it's better for you from your point of view. It's better to have him than to not have him because Martinelli's not started the season very well. He wasn't great last year. Trossard looks like a great impact sub.
He's not
Um,
really a starter. That's the thing
yeah,
with
yeah,
Trossard.
that's the vibe I get from him. And then because if he was playing the way he plays off the bench as a starter, he would never be
Yeah,
on the bench in the first place. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because
we'd be fine. Yeah,
so that's the way I see it. And then and then you got Havertz and you got Saka. Saka's for me your best attacker
mm.
by a country
Yeah,
mile, and obviously Odegaard as well. So you just needed some because of you lost in Ketty and you don't have Smith Rowe and you've lost Nelson, I think, on loan
yeah,
as well. You needed someone to come in. You had to get someone to come in. So
yeah,
better to get him than to not have him. But he's not going to make you more clinical. He's going to just hopefully for you, obviously
mm.
not for me, but for you guys, you just want when he does come on, make an impact, change the game.
Mm.
He could win you 3 points because he might do something, whether it's an assist like a penalty win or a goal, and just yeah. But he's not the guy to make the main man. That's where we made the mistake. We made him the main man of the attack when he came in. He was the highest
Yeah,
paid. He was the guy that we were going to rely on, and that did not go well. And then last season we ended up relying on Palmer, who was basically in his first proper season at regular top flight football, and he carried the whole team.
yeah,
So you don't want to rely on Sterling, and Sterling is a supporting act. So Saka, I think, is still your main guy. If you
mm.
play Sterling with him, then Sterling's the supporting act. And at Man City, he was a supporting act as well. He had all these top players around him. He was a top player then as well. I think he has declined a little bit because he is getting older and he started at 17.
Mm.
He's now nearly 30. So it's like Obviously, Wayne Rooney was a much better player, but when Wayne Rooney started at 16, he's obviously not going to go as far in terms of 35 or, because he started earlier. A lot of footballers will only get really going at 20, maybe 21 in
Yeah.
terms of top level football. So they can go to 35. So it's the same amount of time, just started differently, started earlier. So
Mm.
I'm not expecting Sterling to be what he was at Man City at 30, 31 because he started earlier. But yeah, if
Yeah.
you use him, the way that you're going to use him, I think, is the right way to use him. We over relied upon him at the first season.
Yeah. I think it's a good point because I suppose if we're in the box and he dribbles past a few players and he passes Saka scores, it's
Mm.
almost like if he's able to help us in that build-up play and we do have finishers that can score. I mean, Odegaard's one that I would like to see more goals from him this season. Trossard's a very good player off the bench, but it's hard as well on the left-hand side because I think you'd start Martinelli at the moment in time. And Trossard can come on, and a lot of the time, he will score off the bench. And I think
Mm.
Sterling, I wouldn't really say Sterling's a starter right now. I mean, he could prove to be a starter in time. And
Mm.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think a lot of people can judge players before they've came. So I think for me, I'm going to really just see how it goes. And
Mhm.
I think we have to bring someone in, like you said, especially Reece Nelson. Moving on, you don't really have anyone else that you could really play there. So
Yeah.
um, and he does seem really ready to be playing football again. But I think the problem that I have is that we need that difference maker, that sort of main character guy, but we don't have that.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
might be a difference for us winning the league. But it'd be interesting to see how he does get on. But I'm really hopeful that he can help us. I'm really hopeful. But I think it's really good. I mean, we do always go for Chelsea players. It's really interesting why we do that. I mean, I
Mm.
think Willian was just I don't know what happened there, but David
That
Luiz
was
is an
not, that was
interest.
not a good
Oh,
move.
yeah. I think you look at it and you think you want players that are in their prime now. I mean, Jorginho is actually a good one because he's we know he's getting on a bit, but he's still very good. Like, I'm still
Mhm.
happy right now to have him, but I know maybe next year he'd probably move on, which is fine. But it's really interesting. I mean, I like David Luiz when he first came. I thought he wasn't great, but
Mm.
he ended up being a really good leader for sort of like the Saka, the young players, and
Yeah.
it's interesting why we do sort of go for the Chelsea players, but you want the players that are sort of in the prime, and like you
Mm.
said, Havertz is he's still very young, he's still got a lot of potential, but I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know why we always go for the Chelsea players.
It's a very strange relationship. I don't know why either. Why we always seem to trade players.
Yeah.
Um, we've had Giroud, a few guys, Ashley Cole, obviously Fabregas had that moment at Barcelona, and then came to us afterwards. It's just I find it very interesting. Even I think Yossi Benayoun played for both our clubs as well, but obviously not for long
Mm,
spells. But he was at both our clubs, so I don't know if there was a transaction there. I feel like there probably was.
yeah.
I feel like he might have been at us and then he might have gone on loan to Arsenal or whatever. So yeah, just there's people do videos on Chelsea and Arsenal links in itself because
That's
there's just so
crazy.
many.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
yeah. I suppose I think as well, like if you look at London clubs like Chelsea and Arsenal are sort of, without sounding bad about Tottenham, they are the big teams that also, you look at Chelsea, big club, and are expected to win things and be at the top, like Arsenal. And I think if people like to come to London, that would be the teams they would come to.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's easy, if like Giroud, he's in London, it's easy for him to just stay in London and go to Chelsea.
Hmm.
I mean, as
Yeah.
fans, you don't really see it that way, but that's sort of the reality. Like Smith Rowe,
Mhm.
it's easy for him to just go to Fulham because it's not too far, really. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's be interesting to sort of see how both Chelsea and Arsenal get on this season. But Matisse, thank you so much for coming on today. I've really enjoyed
Pleasure.
it. It's been really nice to get to know you better as well
Thank
and chat
you.
a bit about Arsenal and Chelsea. So thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, we've gone through so much, and you've allowed me
Yeah,
to kind of reminisce, which I don't usually do naturally. So it's good to do it. It's good to do it just to think back at the different things. You've reminded me of some things. So what I've been able to do on the journey. So yeah, I really appreciate it. It's good. Right.
Oh yeah, I've really enjoyed it, and big thank you for coming on. Yeah, it's been really enjoyable chat, and to those that do watch this back, I hope you do enjoy this. It's been a really honour to have you on today, Matisse. I know you're quite busy, so I do appreciate it. And to those that watch this back, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.